Howdy, partners. I am back from Texas. Went to see my family that lives in Dallas. If for anyone that doesn't know, I born and raised in Miami. This is where I've lived my whole life. I'm half Venezuelan, half Colombian. Most of my Venezuelan family lives in Dallas, Texas. It was an amazing time. Never been to Texas. Haven't been to a lot of places in the U.S. Beautiful state. Obviously, only saw Dallas. But wow, everything really is bigger there. It's pretty insane. The food was amazing. The brisket, I had a Terry Black's barbecue. Holy shit. You guys got to try that. If you're a fan of barbecue and you've never been to Texas, I can confidently recommend Terry Black's barbecue in Dallas. It was awesome. I want to get through with this pod. I'm actually in the middle of work, so this one will be relatively quick. I just want to kind of go through quick thoughts after the game. I actually had to catch the game on a flight, paid for the Wi-Fi, watched it on my phone. I was just super nervous in the first half, and then all of a sudden, OKC just overwhelming thunderstorm of defense, pressure, great offense, much needed performances from some of these guys that I'm going to go through. And also, a big collapse from the Denver Nuggets. I mean, you get a rough performance from pretty much everybody here. And this is just the collapse after just so many miles put on this team, and a team playing with such a short rotation. I talked about how much of a problem that was going to be for the Denver Nuggets. I'm honestly impressed with the fact that they pushed this series to 7. And honestly, there is always a little bit of luck that goes along with a team's championship run or a deep playoff run. We can go through the asterisks of every team in NBA history when it comes to that, and it's just an annoying conversation because every team has had a little bit of luck on the way to their finals championship, in my opinion. So things happen. We could blame the roster construction. We can blame draft picks not hitting. We could blame ownership for doing certain things. We could blame the coaching situation. All of that's fine and good. What really matters is that all we're going to remember is that Oklahoma City showed up. Jalen Williams absolutely showed up when they needed him most. And look, man, Shea, another incredible game. Just look at these numbers. I'm looking at them right now. 12 for 19 from the field. He's 3 for 4 from 3. The threes started falling. He's 8 for 9 from the free throw line. He's got those 3 steals. He's got the 4 assists, doing a little bit of everything on the defensive end with that block. And then the 35 points. Just a monster of a performance for Shea. Obviously winning the MVP. You guys know where I stand. I was rooting for the Thunder all year long. Haven't let go of that. I was and still am on the fence of a Jokic MVP, but Shea, very deserving, very happy for him as well as the rest of these Thunder players and the Thunder fans. Awesome stuff from them. Alex Caruso, what he did defensively against Jokic when he had to pick him up in the post, knowing how to funnel him to those lankier bigs behind him, whether it's Chet Holmgren showing or whether it's, Hartenstein or Jalen Williams. He just throughout the series just did such a great job of filling in the gaps and picking up the hard assignments and showing up offensively when they needed him most as well. You got AJ Mitchell, getting a little bit of run in this game because it was a blowout, and him kind of showing like, hey man, I'm another player on this team that nobody knows about and I'm actually good. That's a guy that I think people are probably pleasantly surprised at seeing get some run out of nowhere in these blowouts and be like, wow, is that another good player that they might have that we don't know about? And the answer is yes. AJ Mitchell is another sleeper player that doesn't get a lot of playing time. He's a little deeper on that bench. And we could say the same about Ousmane Dieng. This is a guy, I think he won the G League MVP, or I think he was like a runner-up. Just insanely stacked team with players that don't even play, But, Aaron Wiggins, rough game for him, but the Thunder will live with that when they can get just the defensive pressure of Case and Wallace, when they get a great Shai Gilgeous-Alexander game, when they can get a productive Jalen Williams game, what I think was, I talked to, for anyone that follows this channel and they also follow the Last Storm podcast with those two brothers. One of them is Dave Flat. I forget his brother's name, so I apologize for that. But I actually texted Dave and asked him, kind of how they've been, and he told me they're doing good. They've just haven't been able to be doing the pod, but he actually predicted. He told me we're gonna get a 28-5-5 game, or a 28-7-7 game from Jalen Williams. That's what we're going to need for the Thunder to win. And surely enough, we get something pretty damn close to that. Jalen Williams, 24 points, 7 assists, the 5 rebounds. He gets the steal. We know the things that I constantly tell you guys about that he does defensively. He just changes the game for you. This is a guy that provides insane amount of rim pressure. Like, we know about the Shea isolation, right? And it is so incredible to watch. But when the ball finds Jalen Williams on the wing or in the middle of the floor or on a backdoor cut, this guy carves through defense with the best of them in the NBA. This guy gets to the rim at will, and when he gets there, it's just about finishing, right? Like, sometimes he doesn't have it, right? He gets those little floaters in the lane where he's hitting the back of the rim, or they're kind of roll in and out, and other times he looks like this. And it's why I had him on my unofficial third team All-NBA. And, this is the kind of player that I believe is a top 15 player in the league when he plays like this, doing it on both ends, showing up offensively, hitting the big shots, making the right passes, rebounding. This guy, every once in a while, he'll have some big rebounding games where, in this game it was 5 rebounds, but I'm telling you, like, he'll get his hand on the ball, like when it's bouncing off that rim, and maybe he'll tip it off somewhere else because he has hops, he has the length, he positions himself well. He's a scrappy player. He's a big 50-50 ball kind of guy, as is pretty much everyone else on this team. And then Lou Dort, rough game offensively, but again, doing his part, right, on the defensive end. And we talk about that all the time. I don't know what else we can say about this team. They win shooting 30.8% from 3. It's just their bones. The way they win these games is with their defense. And if you couple that with great performances by their 2 best players, J-Dub and Shea, it's incredibly hard of a task to ask of another team to beat. And look, man, like, they're about to play the Minnesota Timberwolves, who, this is going to be very interesting. The Timberwolves get their second conference finals in a row. In their mind, they're thinking, hey, man, we've been here before. We were here last year. Let's get the job done. Let's make the finals. You talk to if you're looking at the Thunder are thinking, hey, man, we got over that second round hump. We beat a team that has won a championship. Same with the way Minnesota did it last year when they beat Denver. And job's not finished, right? In the words of the late, great Kobe, job's not finished. And that is for sure the mindset of both of these teams, right? If you're in those locker rooms, you are certain that these coaches, Chris Finch, Mark Dagnall, they're in their locker rooms telling their guys the job is not done. We got 4 wins until the finals, another 4 wins for a championship. And this next team, what I can say about the Minnesota Timberwolves run, and I know I mentioned, the asterisk stuff with teams going to the finals and winning championships. Let's keep it 100 on this pod. The Timberwolves' run so far in the playoffs has been relatively friendly. Okay, Steph Curry goes down. It was pretty much at that point you think, no way they're going to lose this series. I didn't even think they were going to lose the series, even if Steph was in it. So there's also that. The Lakers won. I picked the Lakers to beat them in 6. I was 100% wrong about that. They made light work of the Lakers. They definitely outplayed them. They got out-coached. They got out-rostered as well, right? Like, they really were exposed on both ends of the floor. And, I feel like they haven't been challenged yet. Whereas OKC, you can question them not being challenged in the first round because they played that Minnesota team with all those problems they're having. And then here they are, Game 7 at home after, kind of letting go of the rope last year against the Mavs. Here they go. They blow out the Denver Nuggets in great fashion. We could talk about the injuries to Aaron Gordon and, Jamal Murray playing through an illness, and obviously the mileage, and Michael Porter Jr. is playing with an injury, and Russell Westbrook is just, what he is, right? Just a non-shooter that they can cheat away from and kind of just let him just hit bricks, shoot bricks and stuff like that. And then obviously Peyton Watson, who comes in, he's another spacing liability, right? Just they have to really think about this roster construction for the Denver Nuggets. Like, if you have a guy like Jokic, and clearly there's no way this guy should go with one field goal attempt in the second half, that's kind of wild. Like, if you're an MVP, if you're an all-time great, if you're the best player in the league, which I believe he is, you got to go down swinging, And I know it's not his style of like, I'm just going to get 40 field goal attempts and just do the most. I know that's not him, but at some point you got to think, you know what? The right basketball play is the kick out when I'm being doubled, but some of the all-time greats, like the guy behind me right there, they just say, you know what? My guys don't have it. I'm going to force the issue. I'm going to attack the double teams. I'm going to force the issue on these referees who aren't really calling a lot of fouls on Jokic. Like, these Oklahoma City team, like I mentioned earlier, they're going to be handsy. They're going to be physical. They're going to push as close to the line of legal defense as possible, right? Like, they're going to just play as hard as possible, and it's going to be a hard game for the refs to call. Like, the refs are going to have to figure out, like, okay, is that a foul? Is that not a foul? Like, these guys play so aggressive. Are we really going to call a foul every play, right? And that's also plays into the hands of the Thunder, the style that the playoffs really show every year, right? It's just a more physical environment of basketball. So, it really favors the Thunder, and it really exposed the Nuggets last year too when they played the Minnesota Timberwolves. So, they're going to have to rethink about what they're going to do with that team, because you have a lot of non-shooters. And Christian Brown, as good of a shooter as he shows you he can be, he has lapses. He still is a guy that, as OKC showed, we can cheat away from him and we'll close out on him later. We're going to plug on Jokic. We're going to force him to make the right basketball play. And I'm not an advocate of let's take bad shots and let's force offense through traffic. But, sometimes you got to also try to draw fouls, right? Like, try to get to the rim at will, try to take tough shots, like, do things that maybe aren't the right basketball play, but also showing that you are going to be aggressive and you're going to be assertive. And I don't see that from Jokic in this series. I don't see it from him generally, because what makes Jokic such a great player and such a problem is the fact that he will make the right basketball play in a very LeBron manner. Like, he sees an open teammate, maybe he can score under the rim, but there's an extra defender near him, he will make that extra pass, and that is, it's a plus and it's also a negative, because again, you go down and you're not swinging on the way down, and I think that really helped the Thunder, his team mentality, his team first mentality, I think it hurt him as well. But then also you could just say, look, man, like, look at these Nuggets, bro. 2 for 9 from Christian Brown from 3, 1 for 3 Aaron Gordon, which is typically what you would expect from him to do, even though, he is injured and he has shot it well this year. Michael Porter Jr., he's playing hurt, but he goes 0 for 4. Jamal Murray, 1 for 8 from 3. Peyton Watson, 0 for 3. Like, Zeke Naji, 0 for 2. Like, these are guys that, like, they're too streaky of shooters. Like, even Michael Porter Jr., even when he's healthy, he has games where he's not shooting well. He's very streaky. It's very J.R. Smith-esque, even though this guy is a better shooter than J.R. Smith. It's going to be an interesting offseason for the Denver Nuggets, and it's going to be an even more interesting playoff run for the Oklahoma City Thunder, because I feel like they've been challenged more than the Timberwolves. And by the way, seems unfair that they're going to have to play on Tuesday, and then meanwhile, Knicks Pacers is Wednesday. Like, why do they get all that rest? And then the Thunder just get out of this, hectic Game 7. I know the Timberwolves have been waiting for a while, because, they destroy the Warriors. But at the same time, I don't know why, like, the Pacers and Knicks, I think they've already had 2 to 3 days of rest in between. like including this day and tomorrow, I think. So I'm not understanding why that was the case, but it is what it is, you know. Part of this whole topic of rest versus rust, it kind of exists again, but this time for the Thunder, because when they played game one against the Nuggets were coming right off of a game seven, and here come the Timberwolves. They're well rested. You know, they won their series early. They've been waiting, resting, chilling, waiting for the next opponent. And here come the Thunder outside of a game seven. And they're obviously going to have home court advantage. So that's a good benefit to them, not having to also travel right away to go play another series. So that's going to be interesting. I am a fan of the team that comes out of a game seven and just plays the game right away next, because I feel like they're still in that combat mode, like battle mode. You know, they're still, they haven't had enough rest in between. You could argue that, but then there goes the what's it called? The depth part of this whole equation, you know, where obviously the Thunder can definitely sustain some beatings because of all the guys they have at their disposal. So it's going to be a very interesting series. I can't wait to watch game one. And, you know, it's amazing. All the four teams that we're seeing here are potentially, with the exception of the Knicks, potentially a first-time champion. You know, so this is something that goes against all the people with the conspiracy theories of the playoffs of, oh, the league only wants big market teams in to win a championship. The league, you know, wants ratings. And, well, you got the Minnesota Timberwolves playing against the Oklahoma City Thunder, right? Two small markets. You got the Indiana Pacers, small market, and then against the Knicks, the big market. So, yeah, you know, we've had some awesome playoffs, awesome, just insane unpredictability, and I can't wait to see what happens next. I will catch you guys on the next one.